Guys, before we get started, we want to shout out all of our awesome partners, including Hicks Chicks, Trinity Medical, Greg Vet, Magnolia Bluff Casino, Weeks Furniture, and all of the awesome partners that you see on the screen right now. Make sure to do business with them, and we hope you enjoy the show. Hey guys, Ronnie Calhoun here with Miss Lou Champion Spotlight. We are in the middle of a wonderful day, a fundraiser for my buddy Thomas Sanders, who is a Jerry Lee Lewis prodigy. And we are fortunate enough to have Miss Judith Lewis here with us today. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
I always love to be around people that like Thomas, that play his music and like a genius, like he was.
It's truly unbelievable. Thank you. We stole her out of the show for a few minutes to come sit down, and we're very thankful because, as you know, Jerry Lee Lewis is a big impact in this area, and I think so many people in this area would like to hear from you. So I think this is an important interview for us.
Yeah,
locally.
I love Natchez, and I love the fact that Jerry's just 15 minutes from here, where his burial plot in the family cemetery.
Yeah.
That I try and go to every 3 or 4 weeks, and being with the fans and being with the people of Natchez that have welcomed me and made me feel so at home. And I do feel at home, and I do feel a peace here, because that's where we got married, was here in Natchez.
Okay.
And that's where we came for our getaways, and we would go down to Faraday, and I found out where he grew up on the Black River and knew everything about him, and was with him 14 years and 11 married. And it was it's been extremely difficult to not have him, because he's bounced back from so many things. But yeah. I had him drug free, and not my fault. I didn't do it myself. He did it himself.
Yeah.
Because he felt like that he and I had something he had never had, and I felt like I had something I had never had.
Yeah.
So we had an awesome relationship, no matter what we went through, difficulties with medical issues, arthritis, those type things. But he loved what he did. He just worked extremely, extremely hard over the years.
Yeah. And you said earlier, I thought that was interesting, because that was something that I didn't know, that you said that he had been sober for that many years. And
Yes.
You said, and I never heard him say an ugly word during that time and stuff like that. So
I never heard him say a cuss word or anything ugly or a bad word. And he never criticized me. If he talked about something and he felt like it was a little bit negative, he would look up and say, "I'm sorry, God, that just slipped out." Just something a little negative. He was extremely positive with me. We laughed a lot. We prayed together a lot, which is something I had never had anyone. We both had turbulent relationships prior to us meeting. And we dated and were together about 1.5 years or 2 before we married.
Okay.
So I didn't want to bore anybody with those
Yeah.
points, but I do want people to know what an awesome Christian person he was, and the fact that he got his last gospel recording done just 6 months before he passed away. And prior to that, 2 or 3 years ago, he did a gospel album. After his stroke, which he was about 90% over his stroke, but when he had the stroke, he could not play piano with his right hand, and but he still wanted to go do the gospel album in Nashville. This is not the one he did with Jimmy. This is one several years back that's not out yet.
Okay.
So we get to Nashville, and he said, "Did you tell them that I can't use my right hand?" I said, "Yes. They know you're just going to sing." And the band was all set up. They set it up in Nashville like it was at Sun Studio.
Wow.
And so I said, "No, I'm sorry. The only seat that they have is up at the piano. That's the only one left for you." And he said, "Okay, I'll go sit at the piano." So when he sat at the piano, the backup singers and everybody, all the musicians, were ready. And I think the first song was Amazing Grace. I made a mistake one time and said Rugged Cross. Rugged Cross is his favorite song.
Okay.
But when they started playing Amazing Grace, both of his hands came up on the piano, and he played the entire album with both of his hands, and he never did that again.
Unbelievable.
It was just,
it was God.
It was God, and it was a miracle. And the people that were witnesses, myself and his agent and his guy that warmed up for him and all those people that knew him, we were just bawling and crying. And I still get emotional because I saw what God did for him, because he had a special, not that we all don't pray and have a special, but Jerry had a connection with God, and he could almost predict things, and God just lifted that hand up, and I just think that that's so important.
That's unbelievable. It was almost sounds as if almost God was like, "Hey, one last go here,"
because He knew that's what He wanted.
Yeah, that's a wonderful story. It's making me tear up a little.
Yeah,
bit.
it's something that I like to share, because I don't know that many people knew that he was that type person, even though back in the day he was never really as bad as they put out there.
That was one of the questions I was going to ask you, was tell us something about Jerry Lee that a lot of people don't know. But I think that answers it. I mean, because of what the media would do and this and that.
Yeah, and even with us, they were calling me a gold digger and all this kind of stuff, and he had nothing. He was about as down as he could be. Just had gone through a divorce many years before that was traumatic for him.
Yeah.
And he had to get out of it. And he did have an awesome first marriage to a minister's daughter. And her name was Dorothy Barton, and she never tried to make money off him or do anything the whole time. She could have been a millionaire. Mm-hmm. I've told this story a couple of times because I knew her, and I knew that she really cared about him, even though they were real young.
Yeah,
he was only like 16.
Yeah,
but he wanted to get married, and it just didn't work out at the time.
Yeah,
but as far as telling anything that people don't know, he's very caring. But the biggest thing of all is he loved his fans, because most of his life, they were his family. Not that he, didn't have a family. He did. He loved him very much. He did a lot for his mother and father and sisters, and he had a lot of tragedy. And he taught me how to lean to God when you have a death. I lost my brother that helped raise me not long ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. And Jerry said, don't blame God. Do not blame God. And baby, you can cry to me and let it out, but don't keep grieving. It will kill you. So I've tried not to grieve, but it's very hard when you lose someone that you never thought you would ever find that person.
Yeah.
And he never thought he would find me. And any negative vibes that we get or negative things saying, his fans come to my defense.
Yeah.
And I did not know that they thought that much of me and mine and his marriage, because he was just as much of a good husband as I was a good wife.
Yeah.
But they're all saying that, that he looked better in the last years of his life than he's ever looked, and he seemed happier. And that was God.
Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, I'm really glad that we're able to sit down with you and hear some of these stories. I'm curious, as moving a little bit more lighthearted. Yeah. What type of music did he listen to if he wasn't in the studio and stuff like that? Did he have some favorites?
His very favorite was Rugged Cross. His very favorites were gospel music.
So he liked to listen to gospel.
Yeah, and his first time on stage, I think it was My God Is Real that he played when he was like 7 or 8 years old in church, and he forgot the words, and he ran down from the piano and asked his mama, what was the name of that song I was supposed to do? So I'm not sure exactly of the name, but that's really his favorite. And as far as having favorite Music, he loved rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And blues. And another thing that people might not know about him, he could play every instrument.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. When he worked in Natchez at age 15 at the Wagon Wheel, which is down below now where they've got a thing of his in down below Natchez.
Under the hill?
Yeah, under the hill.
Like down by the saloon and stuff? Okay.
Yeah, he used to play there. And when his drummer didn't show up, he would play the piano with one hand and the drums with the other. And there's several videos out there now. It's true. Yep, he did. And he could sing any song. And he could yodel.
He was a very to me he was a very underrated singer. Just speaking of singing, I mean he was so versatile. He was one of those guys that I tell people, like Willie Nelson, for example, he wouldn't go on these shows today and win The Voice.
Right.
But what he does is it just lands and people listen to it and it just connects. He's a true artist.
Yes.
And there's a difference between being a singer and an artist.
Yeah.
And he was just one of the all-time, I mean, we're truly talking about an all-time legend, not just here locally and not just in the United States, international
in the
legend.
world.
I mean, one of the biggest stars that we've ever been blessed with.
I was blessed to go to London with him, and the man's name escapes me. The real big producer that did Cats and all those. What's his name? I can't think of it.
I'm not sure.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Anyway, Lloyd Webber.
Yeah.
He came to the dressing room and bent down on his knees to Jerry and gave him a big plaque and everything. And he said that he made the most money that night that he's ever made. And he was just very gracious and very nice. But the fans over there are unbelievably loyal.
Yeah.
I mean, they are unreal and appreciative of his music. And it's just amazing that it's all over the world.
Yeah. And he did rock and roll. He did country. I love his country stuff.
Oh, yeah, his country stuff.
I love it. What made Milwaukee famous?
Yeah, 39 and Holding.
39 and Holding. Those are great songs. I still listen to them often. I mean, I've got them on my playlist that I listen to, and they'll pop up, and they always put me in a good mood.
Well, you can Google him and go on YouTube and put in there Jerry Lee Lewis with a guitar. He does some awesome vocals on there, and that's been part of my therapy, is going back over the years, and I really never knew how much he worked. At one point, after all the publicity with the young child bride and everything, when things were really tough, he worked 10 straight years every day for 10 years, drove all over, and he made it back. It did not destroy him like the media wants to constantly say that she, but it wasn't her fault.
Yeah.
They loved each other, whatever. And it's just not fair to her or to him that the media continues to say that he just went downhill. It was just that. It was hard on him to make the comeback. He did get reduced but he came back better than ever. And he had sellouts, and I'm a witness, sellouts into his 80s. And there's one interview where this guy's interviewing him, and he says, "You won't be playing in your 80s. Come on, Jerry." Jerry was about in his 40s. Jerry said, "How do you know? How do you know?" That's worth looking at, listening to him go, "How do you know?"
What about, does he ever talk about his relationship with like Elvis and other big stars like that?
He does. He was real close to Elvis. In fact, I think it was the day before Elvis died, he called Jerry, which he called him a lot, to come over, and wanted him to give him advice. Not that Elvis wasn't, smart and everything. He was, but he was nowhere near the genius of my husband, of Jerry Lee Lewis. Jerry Lee Lewis was a genius. He could take anybody's song and make it his own. He could change words. If he forgot the words, he could put the words in there. One time he was playing, and I don't remember what song. It was one he hadn't done often, and the words flew off the piano. all the words. And he did that whole song with his own self, and nobody ever knew he made a mistake. So, yeah, and he was real good friends with Fats Domino, Chuck Berry, and Little Richard. They have a thing that they did, and I was there in New Orleans for the Smithsonian not long ago. And you can push a button and hear them talking back then. But little Fats Domino, they were especially close. Fats was about 9 years ahead of Jerry on making it, but he always wanted Jerry on his show to help him. So he was an awesome individual too. And Chuck Berry and Little Richard. Chuck Berry was an Einstein. You know, Sweet Little 16, all these songs. He and Jerry would help him. Not that he wrote them, he did, but he would sit by him on planes and stuff and watch Chuck just write out songs. It was just he's just an Einstein.
Wow.
So yeah, he maintained all those relationships till they all passed away.
And there's one of my favorite things that I watch on YouTube. Is it Last Man Standing?
That last one.
Oh my goodness! With all the different people playing with him and stuff, that had to be amazing. I mean, what did that mean to him?
It meant quite a lot to him. He was going through that. It took him about 15 years to get the divorce for what happened to him.
He was at his last time in that.
He was in a rough time, and he was getting medicated by somebody, you know, that wasn't agreeing with him, but he pulled it off. He could pull off anything, but he pulled it off, and it was his gold record, Last Man Standing.
So wonderful record. Yeah, I mean, I love how he would always refer to himself in the third party.
I know.
Just keep rolling.
I know.
Oh, Jerry Lee.
I know.
It cracks me up whenever I listen to it.
I know it.
It still cracks me up. I could be in my vehicle listening to it by myself, and it just makes me laugh out loud to myself. And I'm like, what a character, you know.
Oh, he was, and he kept me laughing.
Yeah, I mean,
he could imitate people. And another thing he used to do that the fans might not know, or they might know, he created a lot of friends by playing after he would do a show. He would come in to Memphis on his airplane on the airplane, and he would go to Hernando's Hideaway. And the guy that ran Hernando's Hideaway would talk in a real Southern accent, like, "Ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Lee Lewis." Now, I learned this from Jerry. Jerry Lee Lewis has landed. He's going to be here any minute. Y'all come on buy your tickets. And Jerry gave him every penny. He made the guy a millionaire from doing that. So that's the kind of man he was, and loved animals. He loved animals, too.
What about just, you know, since our viewers are mostly, we're Miss Lou champion spotlight.
Yes.
And this is going to be a champion interview. We're going to make you our newest champion for the Miss Lou. But since this is most of our viewers are from this area, talk a little bit about what Faraday meant and this area meant, if you don't mind.
Well, as you know,
I know you touched on it, but
I'll be happy to touch on it, because I love Faraday. And a lot of people criticized me for having his funeral in Faraday, but I did what he wanted. He wanted Faraday. He didn't want a big convention. He didn't want what everybody thought he ought to have, that he was worthy of. This is what he wanted. I gave him everything he asked for and everything he wanted. And he loved Faraday and the people of Faraday. And so I told the different people that wanted it other places, I'm sorry, I have to do what he wanted. I have to get him his monument, no matter what it cost me or what it cost. We are not very wealthy people, because he was stolen from most of his life. He had nothing when I married him. We didn't need anything like that. But his career took off again, and he rebuilt himself again ever since Last Man Standing. But he never forgot Faraday. We went all the time, and he wanted to be in the family graveyard, and I get criticized by just a few people that he's buried there. He's not worthy. He's worth, but not very much, because the fans know him, and they knew both of us, and they know that I gave him anything he wanted while he was alive, and I'm certainly going to give it to him now.
Yeah. It's he's just an amazing guy. I mean, obviously the talent speaks for itself, but his journey. Excuse me, I'm sorry. His journey, his story. He lived so many lives within one, and that has to make you proud, and it has to make his family members in this area proud, and his fans in this area. I kind of want to shift over a little bit and just talk about you, and now that he's gone, where are you at in life, and
Well,
all that good stuff.
I've had to start trying to live by myself, and I've done a lot of Jerry Lee Lewis tributes, which mean all the money goes to charities, different charities. Like the last one I did was in Cincinnati, and it was a physicians group for cancer. They do a work for people that need second opinions and things like that. The one before that was for struggling artists in Nashville. And then this one is for Thomas, and this is about my 7th one. And that helps my grief. It helps me to be around people that loved him almost as much as I do.
Yeah.
And that come to my defense when I get criticized for putting him in Faraday or, doing what he wanted, with Jimmy officiating the service, and his cousin lives in Faraday, and then my godsons, I've got several of them, but Tim Vance lives here in Natchez that helped me find a place to live and build a little home, and I'll be coming here whenever I sell mine up there where I am, but we love Natchez.
So you're going to be moving here to Natchez?
Yes.
Great. That's great.
Yes.
We'll see a lot more of you.
Yes, you will. You get tired of me.
No, indeed. We'll have a lot more of these conversations. But that I can understand how that does help you grieve. It helps with the grieving process, and just it's got to make you feel good to know that so many people do still just adore him, and his human. We all have a certain amount of time that we're here on Earth, but some of the things that he did will live on forever. And I believe that. I mean,
yes,
there's just him and Elvis and the Beatles. I mean, he's right there with all those guys, and I mean, they'll live on forever, and that's amazing.
Well, talking about Elvis, he didn't get to go over there, and he just really feels bad, has always felt bad about that. But I don't know if he had a show or what the reason was, but he couldn't make it. But he was always there to talk to Elvis, and he didn't go in and try to kill Elvis with that gun or any of that. That's all publicity. I mean, he did pull up to Graceland. He did have a pistol that a cop gave him that he had laid on his dash, but he did not go there to do that. And they want to sensationalize
Everything. Yeah, so I've heard that story. So okay, I'm glad you brought that.
Yeah,
up.
it's
and the other story that I've always found funny was the is it true or not? I guess with the when he set the piano on fire. What's the real story?
I really cannot answer that, because a lot of times he says it is true, and a lot of times he says it isn't true. Tells how he did it this one time. I really don't know, but he wasn't going to be upstaged. I do know that. He wanted top billing no matter, and he didn't get top billing there. So he wanted to say, follow that killer. I'm sure that he said that. I cannot say if he ever did that or not.
I hope he did.
I think that he could, because he had some wild tales to tell about when he drove in the car with Johnny Cash and all them. Jerry didn't, he didn't do any of this supposedly, but Johnny used to throw those cherry bombs back in the back seat and get Jerry to do it. And also, Johnny would they did crazy stuff on the road. I mean, they would drive, I told you how many years he worked.
Yeah.
And they did the stories he's told me about those times are unbelievable.
Yeah. You should write a book.
I want to write a book about it, about our 14 years together, because I already have the title.
What's that?
I lived with a killer. And the bottom says how Jerry Lee Lewis saved himself and me, because he did.
I lived with a killer or the killer?
I don't know yet.
Either way would work. I lived with the killer.
Yeah.
That people think it was like a
murder mystery.
A murder mystery.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
can think of so many good things to say about him, and
Yeah.
it's just amazing the relationship that we had, that we dreamed about, that we thought we would never have,
Yeah.
either one of us. And we weren't going to remarry and all that, but we were together nearly 2 years before, because a lot of people had issues with that in his immediate family,
Yeah.
not my family.
Yeah.
Only I think one person, but once they got to know him, you know, they changed their mind and they saw what we had. But
Yeah.
I was given a very hard time, but he stood by me.
Yeah.
And all he would say is, back off of her now.
Yeah. Well, I think that it shows. I mean, how much you adored him and how much you loved him and how much he meant to you. And sounds like it was vice versa, you know. But I don't want to keep you all day because we are in the middle of a fundraiser.
Yeah, we are.
I'm very grateful for this time with you. Real quick, let's end on this.
Okay.
Is with Thomas. What do you see happening for Thomas, or hope for Thomas?
I think it's going to be a fulfilling career, and I think he's going to bring back rock and roll. And rock and roll is dying.
It is.
And we have got to keep his legacy going. I mean, his music, because you can understand the words. I don't mean that ugly against some of the other artists that are out there, but Thomas is going to keep that going, because Thomas has a God-given talent as well. Jerry's parents and his sisters, they knew he was going to make it, because he worked from a young age. He would be out in the cotton field with his daddy, helping him, and he would pull on his daddy's leg. You know how every kid does, that he wanted to go home and play. Yeah. And he would wear his daddy out and he'd say, "Go on, son, go on and play the piano." So that's the kind of legacy that Thomas is going to have. And Thomas is young.
He is.
And we have another young man that Jacob Tolliver, that is opens for Jerry, and played in the $1 Million Quartet for 4 years at 18.
Yeah.
And he's a sort of a prodigy. He's branched out more, but I want his legacy there. I want his country music out there. They barely got him in the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And I was there to represent him, because he was starting to know that God was going to take him. And he told me that God was going to take him. But I said, no, you got a cough. We're going to get it.
Yeah.
I was in total denial. So it was a real big shock for me.
Yeah.
But I want his music to live on, and I'll do everything. You know the song, "Don't Put No Headstone on My Grave"? Mm-hmm. If you go on YouTube, every time you hear it, he goes, "I want a monument. I want a monument." Well, Jerry picked it out 4 or 5 years ago from Natchez Monument Company. I brought the brochures and he picked it all out, but I couldn't tell him it was $80,000.
Oh goodness, yeah.
And nowadays, that's what things cost that would represent somebody like him.
Yeah.
So I had a fundraiser for him, and we raised every penny of it for him. Other than I sold my car, my little Volkswagen, for the first $10,000, and did everything I could, any extra money. But when you've had a stroke, and people always condemn me and say that Jerry was a millionaire, he wasn't a millionaire, because he got stolen from all of his life. He did not care about the money part of it. Yeah. And he had poor management and things like that. But I just let it go, because I'm not going to let that spoil what I tell the fans and what the fans do for me and do for his legacy. Yeah. I'm not. Yeah. So there's just a few, believe me. I have more of Jerry Lee Lewis people than anything.
That's
but
right.
We've got the monument paid for. It's going to have a granite thing up to the monument in the family graveyard. It's about over 6 feet tall, and it's going to have a button you push that he's going to sing, "Don't Put No Headstone on My Grave."
Well, you have to let us know when that's ready, and we'll come out and do a little video out there. That way we can show the world, his fans overseas and everything, what the final product is.
Yeah, we're going to have a big celebration at the Arcade Theater where he went to. Where he used to listen to Gene Autry.
I'm on the board over there. So yeah.
Are you?
Yeah, I am. So
we're going to have a big get together, and every fan is invited.
Good. Yeah. Well, look, we appreciate you, Miss Judith. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. It's a real honor for me to get to sit down with you and just hear these stories. it's a real treat for me, and I know Dustin feels the same way, and I know all of our viewers out there feel the same way. So thank you so much. And
you're welcome. And it's a thrill to me to talk about
You've always got an open door at Miss Lou Champion Spotlight to come in and on camera, off camera, come in and drink coffee with us or whatever. So,
thank you very much.
We appreciate it.
Thank you for the time that you've taken to listen to my husband, and he was my husband and my best friend.
Yeah,
and I miss him terribly.
Well, you got family here, and we're here for you.
No, thank you very much.
And we thank you to all of our viewers out there. I know you. I usually say I hope you guys enjoyed it, but I know you enjoyed it.
I hope
There's
you
no
did.
way that you couldn't. Thank you to all of our awesome partners out there. God bless everybody, and as always, have a champion day.
Hey y'all, my name is Katie Bellamy. I'm the physical therapist here at Trinity Medical. Physical therapy is a health profession intended to promote, restore, integrate, and maintain physical health. We accomplish this through exercise, manual therapy, electrotherapeutic thermal modalities, and neuromuscular re-education, and a variety of skilled interventions. We treat pediatric patients, orthopedic patients, neurological patients, post-surgical, and specialize in fall risk assessment and management. Physical therapy helps identify and improve physical deficits with conservative treatment, which allows our patients to get back to the quality of life they deserve. If you have a physical therapy need, come see us here at Trinity Medical.
Hey guys, Ronnie Calhoun here with Miss Lou Champion Spotlight. We want to tell you about our awesome partner, Dr. Greg and Greg Veterinary Hospital. Greg Veterinary Hospital has been providing comprehensive, reliable, cutting-edge veterinary services to pets in the Miss Lou since 2002. They welcome pets of all shapes and sizes who are in need of emergency treatment or who require routine medical, surgical, and dental care. Dr. Greg and his team offer a long list of services, including in-house laboratory diagnostics, digital x-ray, soft tissue, orthopedic surgery, dental care, extractions, laser surgery, laser therapy, preventative health, and wellness plans. And if you need grooming and boarding services, they do that too. So call Greg Veterinary Hospital today.
Play to win our Pumpkin Patch Progressive and Black Friday weekend drawings. It's time to gobble up over $50,000 in winnings at Magnolia Bluffs Casino Hotel. It's always a good time.
Visit magnoliabluffscasino.com.
Just wanted to say thank you to all of our awesome partners who helped make this possible, including Trinity Medical, Hicks Chicks, Magnolia Bluff Casino, Greg Vet Hospital, and all of our partners that you see on the screen right now. When you see them, make sure to tell them thank you for helping us do what we do.
Hi, it's Shannon with Miss Lou Champion Spotlight. If you like what we're doing, be sure to follow, like, share, and even comment on all our content. Also, visit MissLouChampions.com to sign up for our newsletter and to receive other information, as well as the opportunity to receive some awesome prizes. Thank you, Miss Lou, for your continued support, and as always, have a champion day.